Alright then. Hello again. Time for another Bitcoin forecast video. Been a little while since a forecast. Now, what kind of forecast are we going to talk about? Well, let's start with the daily forecast. If you look at the charts, we'll see some interesting things using the VEPS indicators. And if you look at the weekly and the monthly forecast as well. So we'll get to the June forecast relatively soon. The daily shows on the VRE chart that the asset has a central daily range of about 0.09% of the asset's value, which means it's a tight central daily range, and thus it is a trending day by all probabilities, and that means we're likely to see trending moves on the 15-minute and lower time frames, and we've already seen trending moves on the 15-minute and lower time frames, and we're likely to see more as the crowd markets come back online when the market at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, U.S. Eastern Time. Interestingly enough, and a good sign for its health, it did in fact already test the central daily range and the new weekly range. Now, what does that mean by test? Well, it means it ran through it, right? The more often it does that, the better, frankly. Why? Because if it's a trending day and it tests those ranges and it moves away from them, well, the trending moves can be expected to make nice continuing moves or very nice reversal moves. So if you look at the higher time frame, around 4 hours, you'll see that the asset came close. I didn't look at it before the last candle close, but on the last 4 hour, it came real close to the third standard deviation band to the upside of the 30-12 RMLR, which of course, if it were to hit that band, once it stops hitting it, you could look for a mean reversion to be in process within a couple candles of it stopping to hit that band. And so it would be a mean reverting towards the 30-12 RMLR, which currently is below it. But of course, it could hit it by going below or by going sideways, or frankly, it could close the mean reversion by moving to the upside, right, in continuation. If you look at the daily time frame, you'll see that Bitcoin certainly has a lot of juice left to run. You know, it could be bottoming out from the little walk down it's had over the past week or so. It might be getting set for a nice move up. Look at the volatility, variance. See that that's also certainly a probability happening today, especially if the volatility and correlation are in sync in their movement up or down, or the correlation of the variance is in sync with its movement up or down, right? Because they're effectively the same thing. Notice also what the entropy is doing, giving us plenty of random walks and trending moves, especially on the lower time frames. Now, on the 7-day forecast, the asset has yet to complete the mean reversion to the power mean smoothing length 10, only down around 54.5K. Doesn't mean it's going to complete that this week, and it doesn't mean it's going to get to that level. All right, the probabilities are looking like it won't necessarily drop that far. even if it does move down relatively significantly from where it is, there's a high probability that it won't complete that mean reversion at that level, but that it'll maybe complete it later this summer when that power mean reaches a higher level, if the asset doesn't begin to run up even further. Could it run up even further before it hits that level? Absolutely. Does it have to? No. These are all probabilities. Same thing on the weekly. That power mean is roughly in the same place on the weekly as it is on the 7-day. And it could, in fact, run up significantly before moving over and completing the mean reversion to that power mean. And up on the monthly time frame, because we have a new month since yesterday for June. Well, since 2 days ago now. The monthly forecast is frankly looking very healthy. We had a halving in April. That does not mean that the price is going to immediately run up. Yes, historically, the price action has followed the returns up significantly to a point where the price action was double that of what it was at the halving within a few months of the halving. But there's only really been 4 halvings: 2012, 2016, 2020, and 2024. So what does that mean? Well, nothing really, because patterns break, maths don't. So we don't go chasing the price. Well, it doubled in price every time so far after a halving within a few months, therefore it must do so again. That is not necessarily the case, right? Yes, we did have, after the last one, a significant move to the upside in July, which was 2 months after the halving. But that does not mean that this month there necessarily needs to be a massive run up. Could it be that we do? Yes, of course it could. Probabilities indicate that that's a possibility. But the reason that VEPS scalpers look to low time frames is because there are simply more occurrences of activity on the lower time frames. So what to do with high time frames like the monthly? Well, if you're an investor and not a trader, well, all in all, the asset looks pretty healthy, whether it dips even 20 or 30% right now. By the way, if it did dip 20 or 30%, it would complete that mean reversion on the 7-day forecast. Does that mean that it's going to do that? No, not necessarily. All right, like I said, it could just as easily run up and complete that mean reversion to the upside. But for now, the long-term big picture view is that this asset is going to continue to rise in the long term over the coming months and years. And the RMLRs are indicating that they're heading up over the long term for now. And if you look out into 2025 and 2026, you can see that indeed the forecast looks pretty good. Right? We're entering a time now where you have all these institutionals making a race to grab as much as they can, and that means there's really very little Bitcoin to go around for the public to buy on exchanges. And even if you can get it from over-the-counter dealers and not affect the price of the market, there's still not very much to go around. And every new coin that's being mined, more than that is being purchased, which means they're buying coins that have been in the hands of holders, whether they're over-the-counter dealers or miners or anybody else, for a while. because the ones being mined, there's not enough being mined right now to provide for the demand at the current rate. And it could very well be that there won't be very many at all, there already aren't, for the average retail buyer to get their hands on before the actual circulating supply has been bought up and is being held by wallets that aren't moving the material. Now, what happens if all of that material is bought up and held and not traded? Well, then price stagnation. And if you have price stagnation, that's generally not good for the price, because if everybody's holding and not buying, if there's no buys to be made because nothing's available, if nobody's selling anything and nobody can buy anything, then the price will not tend to sit where it is. It's likely to move towards the downside if there's no supply available and nobody's selling, right? Because then, well, what value does it have if nobody's trading it? But of course, with an asset like Bitcoin, there is always going to be, a share of the market that wants to sell and take profits. So look for continued volatility for many years to come, and look for, therefore, continued returns moving and continued price action. And that's it for now. Happy trading.
Can you give me a drink?
Hello.